Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Um,
Hi, Bella.
Hi, Marla. Hi, Beth. This
Hi,
is so
Bella.
exciting. I want to thank you both for being here today for our first New York City Jewelry Week webinar. I hope that I don't screw anything up. I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try not to. Um, but thank you both for being here. This is Jewelry Confidants. It is a new live series that we are kicking off for Jewelry Week. You know, normally our events take place in November, but this year we thought, you know what, let's sort of join the community of content creators even earlier than usual.
Oh, no.
And so we, as you know, here at Jewelry Week, we love stories and we love sharing jewelry stories with our audience. And so Jewelry Confidants is essentially a conversation between two friends who love jewelry as much as we do. And I couldn't be more excited and thrilled and honored to be here with Marla Aaron and Beth Bugdaycay. And what is wonderful, you know, when we sort of dreamed up this series, the idea was that we would have people who already have a friendship, right? So they're jewelry industry, they're jewelry insiders who already have a friendship. And it's like eavesdropping on their conversation. And so I hope you guys will even sort of forget that I exist for the next hour or so, because this is not about me, it's about our guests. And so while our guests need no introduction, and I always hate the reading of bios before live events, I will just do a very sort of a very quick introduction. Although again, you all know these two incredible women. So Marla Aaron launched her collection in 2013 when her combined obsessions with Bridges hardware and jewelry could no longer be ignored. Her collection is proudly made here in New York City and sold all over the world. And what began with one lock is now an entire collection. That is meant to be worn in infinite ways, and we will sort of talk a little about that. But before launching her collection, Marla spent over 25 years in marketing and advertising. And Marla, I have to say, I had so much fun reading your bio, because like everything you do, your personality just sort of, you know, just comes through in it, and it was wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for
Beth, yeah. Beth Bugdaycay spent nearly 18 years working as CEO of women's ready-to-wear brand Rebecca Taylor, a fashion brand that she co-founded when she was 23. Beth left Rebecca Taylor in 2014 to launch Foundrae. She is a member of the CFDA, and her industry honors include a nomination of the 2019 Emerging Designer of the Year by the CFDA. As the single jewelry designer. Beth, I'm so excited also when we had just talked a little bit ago, you're already in your studio in Soho. And that's really exciting because, you know, I think all three of us, New York is so much at the heart of what we do and who we are. And so it's lovely that you're back in your space in Soho. And Marla, I know that you're on 47th Street, maybe not at the present moment, but you guys have also, you've also reopened, and
yes.
so it's really wonderful. So I wanted to kick off this conversation with, how did you two meet? How did the friendship begin? Fill us in, take us through that first day.
I think we met on the street the first time. And then we just kind of clicked and connected, but also on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then I went to your house.
Yeah, exactly. When we had breakfast, and I mean, I just think like right away that we identified kindred spirits in each other, and right away we kind of didn't have any pretenses and spoke like we'd known each other for 20 years. I think we have a lot of commonalities, a lot. Yeah, we really do. And so every time we talk, we always And I think, I mean, I can't speak for Marla, but for me, I really respect her, you know, and I think that it's so wonderful to have peers in the same industry going through the same challenges you are, that you can lean on, and you know, and ask questions and opinions, and you know, and I really value all of the feedback that she provides me.
I feel the same way. And I think it's, you know, it's very hard in this industry, in any field, to have a very unique voice. And I feel like yours is very unique, and I love it. And so and I know many of we share customers. So it's like very interesting that I love it and they love it. And, you know, it's like this very lovely ecosystem in a way.
We definitely share the same customers. And I love that. I find it really flattering. And when it comes to having a strong point of view, because I think that it goes to the point that Marla also has a really strong point of view, and the same customer needs different things from us, you know, and that's why they come to both of us, because we do completely different pieces, but yet we kind of speak to the same aesthetic. Yeah.
And this idea that they are building something unique, that the
Exactly.
customer is building something unique.
Yeah, we were talking about that actually, because when I was reading through the materials that Bella provided, I saw that Marla defined her line also as tools, and I do too. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting, because I haven't ever noticed to see if a lot of people use the words tools, but I don't think so. And but I feel like I really like that word, because I feel like by calling them tools, it kind of gives more freedom to the customer, the wearer, to really craft the piece to be representative of who they are rather than us. And I feel like it kind of takes the ego a little bit out of it. And by saying that they're tools, you're not, I don't want them to be so precious that people don't feel that they can like really wear them and let them become part of who they are. And I think Marla feels the same way.
Oh, absolutely. The more scuffs, the better.
How did you, so you both, so jewelry is a second career for both of you. How did you both decide on jewelry, and how did you both decide that you're sort of interested in these sort of tools and these modern heirlooms, which I know you've also, you know, sort of both refer to jewelry as?
Beth, you go first.
I mean, well, for me, I've always defined my style by jewelry. I mean, anybody, even, you know, you would think that being in part of the clothing industry for so long that clothing would be, you know, super important to me. But the reality is jewelry always was first for me. Even I found an interview with me from like 15 years ago, and they said, how do you get dressed in the morning? And I said, first I put my jewelry on, you know, and then I put clothes on. And so I think it's always been a way that I express myself. And I'm also, you know, I see myself as a seeker. And so I think that there's something very spiritual about jewelry that you can connect with, and that I feel, you know, has always really resonated with me, you know. And the fact that, and I love antiques, and so I love that they had a life before I put them on. And so then, you know, I wanted really, it's like, you know, I think a lot of people are talking about how to be a good ancestor, like for future generations. And so I think that for me, I was thinking about that, how to be a good ancestor, how to communicate values that I think are important to me, like little, you know, roadmap signs. And so that's really how it started for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, should I answer now?
Yeah.
I've always been obsessed with jewelry, and in a very indiscriminate way, like the high, which is a word I hate, the low, the in between, any kind of jewelry. It all sort of exists in the same way. For, you know, I love it the same way. And I love hardware. And I think for me, you know, it was like a secret passion for a very long time. And then it was a very big hobby that I was doing on the side that I couldn't have even dreamed that I could have really started it. And then little by little, it crystallized and it became a concrete vision of a collection that could exist in the world, that if I wanted it, if I wanted to have these pieces to pick up the little pieces in my jewelry box with that I love, then other people would want these things too. And, you know, and then it morphed from there into really a bunch of different ideas that, you know, because I think, I mean, Beth will probably agree. Anyone could probably agree. But the more you exercise, being creative is like a muscle. The more you do it, the more you are.
Yes.
So it just opened a window that I hardly could have imagined.
Yes.
You know, once I started, the window just opened and I was able to go further and further with ideas that I had, and you know, and that's sort of how it started, and it's still going, you know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
And you know, what's also interesting is that you launched your businesses roughly at the same time, I think maybe like a year apart or something. And so you both were sort of the new girl on the block, right? And what I loved when we spoke is we talked about, you know, you both had to forge your own path. But what was interesting is that you know, oftentimes you sort of came into the industry and people said, well, that's not how we do things around here. And because you were sort of new and creating your own path, you were like, well, you know, that's okay. Let me do it sort of my way. Like, why don't you do it this way? So can we sort of talk a little about that and like what that was like in the beginning? And
yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, because I definitely heard that. I mean, I remember we worked with somebody at the very beginning just for a short while, and I heard so often that's not how it's done in the jewelry industry, you know, over and over again, like, you know, and you know, and I would lose confidence and think like, oh, is that so shocking? But I think that the minute you get confidence in your own vision, and I think also, like, I was content with the idea that, you know, we wouldn't be the largest brand in the world, and that there had to be somebody that had the same values and appreciated the same things that we did. And that as long as we, you know, really kept that objective in mind, not to be everything to everyone, but to just be, you know, something special and significant to a few people, then we would be able to really be authentic, you know, to you know, to our own vision. And I mean, and for us, like, we just feel so privileged every single day to be doing what we're doing. And it's not just us. It's like there's a whole microcosm of people, like from the, you know, from the jewelers that work in the workshops, to our in-house studio, to assistant designers, to, you know, e-commerce. Like, we are all grateful, you know, that we can do what we love every single day. And honestly, you know, I truly believe in collaboration, which I think also, you know, points to the fact that Marla and I believe that our jewelry are tools, because I believe so much in collaboration that I'm trying to give the design helm to the wearer. You know, I really believe you reach a greater truth when people collaborate, and that you get beyond your own potential. And so when we hear from the customers directly and get to meet with people, I mean, I'm so inspired every day by what more is in front of us.
By how they wear it. I mean, for me, like I always say, how I envisioned it is like one thing, but when I see how they're wearing it, I am literally moved. I'm sure you feel the same. It's like, oh, this is what you're going to do with it. This is what you're going to put on it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. I love when I see that. There is not a vision, like it's not just, it belongs to, when it leaves, it's going to have way better, you know.
Yes, I feel the same way. And I mean, we are so moved every single day by the stories that we hear from people about, you know, why they're choosing a dream medallion, or why, you know, what significance it has to them. So we're trying to share it as much as possible, because it just feels like this gift that we shouldn't hold, you know, just for us. And so we've been putting like what we call it, our anthology on our website, which just shares a few of the stories that we hear. But, you know, it's incredible. And I feel so grateful that jewelry is this medium that allows us truly to connect heart to heart with people. And I know that it's jewelry because I was in the clothing business before, and I was the same person, and I wasn't connecting heart to heart to people, because people were trying on clothes and they were only concerned about, had they gained weight, you know, did it make them look thin? And all the conversations were about really, you know, body, you know, whether they're happy with the, you know, the body image. And so I know that jewelry is special because it has allowed me to forge so much closer friendships, and, you know, and to really be, you know, heart to heart with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, jewelry has a it allows a kind of intimacy.
Exactly.
The emails we get from customers, the DMs we get from customers about what they do with our jewelry, what they want to say with our jewelry. I mean, you know, it can be very, very tragic and very poignant,
Yeah.
to the hilarious, you know. I mean, there's just so many examples in between, that people are literally sharing their life with jewelry in a way that they don't do with clothes or bags or shoes or, you know, other things.
For me, the only similarity that I really see is journal writing. And I really do see that journal writing is a practice that not everybody does, but it's the same thing, which is you're putting it out there, you're deciding, you know, what that moment represents for you. And so, so yeah, that's what I think, that they're very similar. Yeah. Records of, you know, who you are and what your next chapter is.
That's right. Yeah.
It's interesting because especially, you know, during sort of these very challenging times, we hear a lot about jewelry that is spiritual and the power that it has over everyone. And now when people are so, you know, considerate about, you know, what they are spending their money on, jewelry is the one consistent thing that people want to continue to purchase, which is incredible, right? Because like you were saying, Marla, you know, it's there sort of for us in the good times and the bad times, right? And so I think it has that, you know, and Beth, I think you said this earlier too, like this talismanic power too, you know, and it's, I agree. I think with clothes, it sort of becomes sometimes a bit more frivolous. But with jewelry, you know, we'll put something on, you know, I think when we were talking about this, you know, you go to a doctor's appointment, for example, and you wear a piece that you think is sort of going to sort of protect you, you know, for that visit. Or, you know, it's your anniversary and then maybe you wear a ring that, you know, your husband got, you know, when you were dating or something. And even if you don't love it, but the fact that like he got it and it signifies a place and time, right? So it's like, it's there. And then of course, the things that we purchase for ourselves, right? Whether it's like that first paycheck or just to sort of say, hey, you know, you got this, you know? So it's like, it is so incredibly, it's so incredibly important and powerful. So yeah, do you two also find that now because of social media that you have an opportunity to connect with your customers in a way that maybe was not sort of possible earlier on? Like, how do you, because I know you both are so, you know, you're so tuned in, you know, with social and you're always sort of, you know, you're sharing the personal and do you find that that makes your customers sort of, you're like their best friend essentially, like they feel like, you know, they know you, there's such a nice relationship?
Marla's better at sharing personal than me. I still, I don't know, I can't ever figure out how to do it, you know?
Yeah, I think for
Right,
me,
but it's hard.
I guess I think coming from the world of advertising where it was all a facade,
Mhm.
in some way, that what struck me most about Instagram the first time my son showed me how to use it, which is, it's the first post, if you can get back that far, it's him upside down. And they thought it was so funny that they taught me the wrong way to use it and that it was so silly. I know that, who's laughing now? But but anyway, the point is, I was like, oh my God, all the veneers are gone. Like the jig is up. Like I was like, this is really where the rubber meets the road. There's an opportunity here in a very real and authentic way for the good and the bad, as many brands find out, to understand immediately what people think. Like, when I started, I didn't know how to access the stores. I didn't know about the trade. I didn't know how to do it. So social media became this first place for that. And it, I knew what they thought immediately. I mean, even it was just, 50 people at first or 60. And then it became, but over time, like, you understand the rhythm of it. And it's a rhythm that is extremely real. There is no veneer to it at all. So I think that's been very positive in terms of building very real relationships with customers that, they know you care and that they care.
I feel, honestly, I'm going to tell you, some of my closest friends are customers that I've never had face-to-face meetings with. And I find that astounding, but I have to tell you, I truly feel that way, that there are people that have a place in my heart, that we text each other and that we're here to support each other like I would with somebody that sits next to me. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
But what I was also going to comment on something that you said, Bella, because you said to people that buy for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is something that I have a feeling Marla is on the same page of, but from the moment I designed the very first piece of Foundrae, I was speaking to the end wearer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think anything differently, and I mistakenly thought from the beginning that she was a woman. And now I realize that, I realized quickly that it was a woman and a man. It was basically all people. And so that's that was a lesson for me. But anyway, at the beginning, I thought I was speaking to a woman directly. And so every conversation I was having was, with this person that I could imagine. And so then it was so funny because then I started getting, meeting, industry friends. And I remember being at a dinner table with people that were far more experienced than me in this industry, and with very large, reputable, businesses that I admire. And I was sitting at dinner and they said, what's astounding is this year self-purchases have increased all the way to 5%. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I literally couldn't stop laughing because I thought, okay, so I'm basically speaking to 5% of this pie. So I thought that was so funny. And then the next thing that was so funny for me is they said, and earrings are 70% of our sales. And I realized I didn't have a single earring on my line. And I just thought, like, okay, like clearly I'm, not really getting this. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's so funny. And so, these things, you learn along the way.
This is it's such a good point, Beth, because none of the industry statistics, or when I would talk to people, or when I would talk to those industry people, nothing that I was experiencing was even made any sense to what I was reading in the the trade publications, hearing from people in the industry. what I was doing, what was happening was totally unique. And I believe to this day, I would say 80 to 90, maybe higher, is self-purchasing women.
Same.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And it's lovely when the men buy, and
Yes.
men really enjoy, I'm sure they enjoy buying Foundrae too, but they enjoy buying it for their wives and etc., or, you know, spouses, partners. But in the end, it's being led by women, you know, people self-purchasing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm the same. And I think that that's who we speak to, you know, and that's the relationship, honestly, we really value, you know. We want to be personal and intimate with the person that's wearing the jewelry. And so, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think it's so wonderful to hear you say that too, because I know for a lot of, you know, emerging designers, right? It's like, or anybody, when you're getting into a new business, you're sort of reading all the stats and you want to be clued in. And then it's so frightening, right? Because at the end of the day, it's just like, if you just have to believe in yourself and in what you are doing, because otherwise you can so easily just be like, I'm out, like I'm doing all the wrong things, you know? So I think with both of you, what's great is that you have such a strong vision, and your customers come to you both because you have that vision, right? And they love what it is that you offer. And I actually wanted to ask you about something that I know is important to both of you, and that Marla, as you've talked about at length, and that is, you know, sort of designers taking, you know, liberties with other designers' work. And I know there's a lot of, you know, copying within the industry. And I know you've worked very hard, you know, on trademarking. And so I don't know if you sort of want to touch a little bit about that, you know, and sort of, you know, what that's sort of like as well in the industry.
Well, I think we're an industry that hasn't done a great job of protecting intellectual property, and the game has changed significantly in the universe. And at the end of the day, you know, it is your right and responsibility as a designer, if you make something unique, to protect the work. Mm-hmm. And while this is, you know, sometimes there's too much of a prevailing sentiment of imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but in fact, it's not really. Mm-hmm.
No, it's hurtful.
Yeah, it's very hurtful. And I think, you know, I've taken more, you know, of a business eye to it, that it's a problem, but protecting our IP is a foundational element of what, if you had asked me, you know, 7 years ago, if I thought this would be a problem, I'd be like, I mean, no, this isn't going to be a problem. But I would never have even believed if you have told me some of the crazy copying things I've seen or experienced. But, you know, now it's a foundational part of our business, meaning we strategize over it, we understand it, and it is my duty to protect what we make on behalf of my company and our employees.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like with any artist, right? I mean, you have to protect, you know, your voice and your vision. And so I think it's an incredibly respectable and an important stance. So, sorry, Beth, I didn't mean to. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. It's, you know, unfortunately, sometimes when you're protecting your work, like I had this, Marla knows, like you know, probably about a month ago, I walked into a store in the Hamptons and I saw an exact, you know, copy of our medallions, you know, completely, but, you know, you know, costume jewelry. But I was shocked, you know, and hurt. And when I reached out to the maker, she felt like very, I want to say, she felt like she turned the tables, where she basically said, like, I was ruining her relationship with this store by telling them that it was copies. And that and that, you know, that she just has a tiny business and I should be appreciative.
Both of us, because even in the same way that we share customers, we share copiers. But isn't that fun?
So what happened is, truthfully, I got really upset. I was like crying then you think, have I done something wrong? And it causes a lot of introspection, and you think, how should I approach this differently? You know, and it's just honestly such a suck of constructive energy that I would like to be using towards other aspects of my life and business. And that's upsetting. That's upsetting. Yeah. But, you know, one of the things I wanted to bring up too, though, is when we're talking about COVID, is how much our businesses have changed. And I think, you know, both Marla and I feel really strongly about our wholesale partners. And I wanted to bring it up because we're talking about our end consumer. And the thing is we have to do more right now to help them, you know, because the mom and pop businesses of this country, I feel, are, you know, need to be protected. Mm-hmm. And I value them so much. But at this, you know, at the same time, it takes more time and effort right now, because you can't just do a trunk show. You can't just show up. We have to do, you know, really intensive training, because it's important that, like, we want the end consumer to get the exact same experience with our retailers as they get with us, in terms of knowing, you know, what to do with our pieces and the meaning behind each symbol. And so our relationship with our wholesale partners is really intimate, really close. But then what we're finding is, because there's so much time consuming stuff going on with everything, with servicing wholesale, with working with customers, you know, from afar, that we can't do it all. And so what we've had to do just recently, which was truthfully heartbreaking for us, is we had to reduce the number of wholesale accounts we work with. And it's because we just can't do it all, you know, and you can't all of a sudden go from, you know, having people walk into your store to, you know, to just working one-on-one for days with somebody to try to help them put together the mix, and think that that nothing's going to give, you know. So my point is, we have had to give. We have to lose something in order to be able to still serve what we think is like 110%. And those are painful decisions that are necessary for business, that that has happened to us, you know, as a result of COVID.
Yeah. Marla?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same. There's a renewed focus, there's a different focus, and really honing in on, you know, I think it happens with anything, but this is a particularly challenging time, especially if you're a business of our size. So we've had to hone in, be very focused on our efforts, very focused on the relationships that we have, and really
how to keep our workshops alive too.
Keeping the workshop and diving deeper into those relationships. I think that was the only way. I mean, I'll say that, I mean, at the beginning of this whole situation, my husband turned to me and he's like, he's a smart guy and he's a, you know, thoughtful guy. And he said, I think the most important thing for you is to keep your team together. Yeah. He said, nothing else is important. You keep your eye on that, and I think you'll be fine. And that's what I did. I know it sounds crazy, but that's really, I threw every other expectation I had for the year 2020. And I said, if I can just keep my eye on that, on our team, meaning our vendors too, our, you know, the relationships, hold on to the relationships, as, you know, old school as that sounds, that was it. That was
but then making sure they still have life balance. Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, you can't say to your team, you know, that, you know, we now have to do more and that you're just going to have to take it on. And, you know, I'm not willing to say that, because, you know, I feel really strongly that, you know, that we started Foundrae with the intention of creating something beautiful. And when I say something beautiful, it's not just about the product. It's about a lifestyle, and it's about a community and the way we work together. I mean, it's an extension of my home. You know, my house is upstairs. Like, I have to feel proud of the fact that, and I do, that people leave at 6 sharp. You know, I didn't have that in the clothing industry. That was not a good life balance in my previous life. And so being able to provide that for people is really important to me. And when I see people drowning, you know, I have to make decisions that allows them to feel successful with their, and commit their time to you know, what we say, this is where you should commit your time.
Right. No, that's really important. That's the part, that's the ever-changing part of running a business. You know, that's like the non-jewelry part. But exactly. I don't know if I should say this on the Jewelry Confidential, but I am going to say it as it relates to that. I wanted to have it, stenciled on the walls of our new office, but nobody wanted me to, but I do say it all the time. I say it's just jewelry. I say, I want everyone, I'm like, it's jewelry and I love it and it's everything, but at the end, it really is just jewelry. So, I mean, if things have to wait, like, let's keep it in perspective at every level with our customer team, with, you know.
Yeah. One of the things that, you know, when we spoke, we talked about, you know, building a humane and enduring jewelry business. And those humane and enduring are just, they're such strong words. They're so powerful. And I know, you know, they're so a part of the ethos of who you both are, not just as, you know, businesswomen, but as individuals, as people. And that really comes through, you know, in not just in your work, but even, you know, in this conversation. And I agree with you. I think especially at a time like this, or any time really, right? I think we should all be so aware of our teams and who we're working with. And to your point, Beth, yes, you know, Marla, I'm sorry, it is just jewelry, right? Like, I almost see that, you know, I see your letters, I see your, in your capital letters, I see it, I'm visualizing it saying it's just jewelry. But it's true, you know, because at the end of the day, I think it's about who we are as human beings first, right? And sort of being able to sleep at night. And I think that is, you know, that's really important. And I wanted to talk a little about, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's hard. It's like, you know, it's so hard every single day to try to make decisions that you feel are ethical and right, that you can. And I mean, I was just talking to somebody last week, and a customer, again, I love her so much. I've just met her. She's so inspiring. She just got a new role at Deepak Chopra, like, and I feel like, you know, I know she came to me for jewelry, but like, maybe she was meant to come to me because now I just downloaded her app and I'm going to be working on that more. And I said to her, I go, you know what? I have a lofty goal, and I don't care how lofty it sounds, you know, and I'm never going to achieve it in my lifetime. I said, but I want to become an enlightened being, you know? And I said, and I'm going to be pretty close. I'm going to try it, like as close as humanly possible when I'm like 80. And that's my age. That's my target. And I thought, okay, if I can improve every single day a little bit, you know, just a little bit. I mean, I make so many mistakes as a parent. I mean, my son is 16. I just basically wrote him a huge love letter and apology letter this morning because he, you know, feels that I fail at so much. And and I just want to say, I hear you, and I do, you know, and but the lucky thing is today is a new day, you know, and I have another day to try to let, you know, that which is like, you know, divine in me, the light, get bigger. And I think so often we get encumbered by fear, anxiety, ego, you know, that we kind of dim our own light. And I guess my point is I am trying so hard, you know, to let that become a bigger part of my life. You know, I'm trying.
Yeah, the parenting part.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm trying, you
We're
know.
not, we weren't supposed to talk about that, but that's, yeah, it's
Oh,
rough.
are we not? I didn't know.
No, not supposed to, but
In my eyes,
I
no.
love it. It's very hard. The mistakes will be, I say that's what they'll put on my tombstone. Mistakes were made.
Exactly. Mistakes are made.
Made.
I agree. I love that. That is hilarious.
I was going to actually ask you both, but you know, it's funny, every time I think of what I'm going to ask you next, you both just sort of like perfectly segue into that. But what's on your mind now? Like, what are you sort of, what are you giving, like, what is giving you energy and power and the drive to sort of keep you going forward? And, you know, because it's tough, right? I mean, especially now, I think we're always balancing so many things, but now especially, so what sort of, what's giving you that power to keep going?
I think for me, I mean, I have so many things that I want to make, you know, there's just so many things I want to make. I mean, we just finished a new collection that's launching, you know, next week. And, you know, you'd think that I'd be, oh, I'm so excited for that launch. But actually, when it's done, when we've resolved the technical issues, like, it's like, oh, like it's over now. Like, not over for me, but like, oh, we've accomplished that. And so now I'm starting to think about other things. So it's like, there's always something new. I feel very inspired, I have to say. I mean, just in that regard.
Me too. I mean, for me, it's exactly what I was just talking about, which is the idea of really unfolding into who I'm supposed to be, who every single person at this office studio is supposed to be, the customer. Like, that really inspires me. The idea that we can help each other and that we can lean on each other. And to me, I find that so inspiring. I am so touched by people and what we can go through and what, you know, the resilience people show. It's, you know, and, you know, and the joy, the love, you know, it's just, so I just want to be able to really swim in that energy every day, because it's so, life-giving.
Yeah. I have one final question because I have a couple of questions from the audience. So my last question is, what are some local businesses that you two are excited about right now? And, you know, sort of what's happening, or maybe in New York City specific businesses that you're excited about, or just in general, like who are you looking out for?
In jewelry or in anything?
In no, it doesn't have to be jewelry, just like a local business that you're excited about in New York. I mean, Marla, I know you've also been sort of, I think on Thursdays, you've been sharing local businesses on your Instagram. So
I love.
That's what inspired this question.
I think Marla should speak to it because she's doing a much better job at doing that. And I think that was an incredible initiative.
Thank you guys so much. I didn't, unfortunately, this week it's coming. We're going to do, I think we're doing one this week. I didn't do it, but it's basically, it's not local businesses. I'm posting Black owned businesses every Thursday, and I decided to do it because money changes everything, and moving money is a very important thing.
Yeah.
And so that's really the focus of it. And that's how we, you know, it's really become a real effort for we're very excited about it. It started in a very small concentric circle, like the businesses we knew, and now it's like branched out. And, you know, that's really the rationale behind it. And, you know, moving money into businesses and how I can, my company can use my voice. You know, I'm just this you know, I'm just this middle-aged white lady, you know, what can I do that's that's impactful, that can be impactful in an immediate way? And I realized that was the thing that we could do. You know, I have to say though, there's so many businesses that are struggling in the city. I live in Harlem, and there are a lot of businesses all over the city are struggling. The food industry I find particularly concerning. The small food businesses, whether they be restaurants or even just mom and pop food shops, it's wreaked havoc. So I'm very concerned about those. So any way that I can help in you know, I'm very focused on that and thinking of ways that we can help. So I don't know, I just think it's been hurt badly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody, you know, pivoting, they're trying to figure out ways to survive. Like my nephew has a coffee shop and it's not a coffee shop, it's a restaurant in the East Village called C&B's. And he has really started, you know, he used to always make his own bread as part of his sandwiches, but then because so many people, you know, this was before they had allowed the outdoor dining, that he started just really baking so much bread for people to bring to their homes for their own sandwiches and meals, because, you know, he needed to pivot and make sure that he stayed open. Yeah, they've reduced their staff. There's now just a few people working there, but, and honestly, they are working really harder. You know,
harder. Everything takes longer. It's
yes.
harder in this time.
Exactly.
So just two questions that I wanted to ask that have come from our audience. This question comes from Lily Greenberg, excuse me. And Lily wants to know if Marla and Beth have seen greater increases in connections and interactions from customers over social media since COVID. And since the stores have been closed. And she said, I'm loving this live stream, by the way. Thanks, Lily.
Thank you, Lily.
So I don't know, Marla or Beth, I don't know who wants to take this question first.
Okay. I would say for sure, I've increased the direct dialogue. And I would say it's mostly because I've always been the one that answers most of the DMs. But I would say just the level of communication has increased. Mm-hmm. More people, I think, are on Instagram and utilizing it more. And so I would probably, so I would say I've gotten a lot closer because people are reaching out more, you know, and then, and so I've really enjoyed that.
I really enjoy it. And we get a lot of DMs. And actually during COVID, I will bring it up, we created a secondary Instagram account called MAJ Help, which helps me respond to all, I am the one on Marla Aaron responding, but I'm not great at it. You know, I'm good at it if you just ask me something like, I love your shoes, or how are you, or your dog is really cute. But if you say like, what's the ideal length of a heavy curb chain? My wrist is 6 inches. I'm like, oh, math. No. I need you to be here with me, and then I can hold your wrist, and then I know, and wrap the chain around it. So that's why we created MAJ Help. So, and the customer team takes turns on MAJ Help. And they'll dive in to the DMs, and they'll like they're keeping a watch on it in case I really miss something.
Yes.
You know, yeah, because it's hard to respond to all of them. It really, really is. As much as I love it, yes, it's hard to stay on top of it.
I'm definitely the more nighttime and weekend person. And then during the day, yes, we have people at the retail team that also help. A lot of them are very specific questions like pricing and stuff.
Yeah, like that. Pricing for a length. It's like,
whenever there's a mistake price quote, it's me that did it.
Me too.
Yeah. And then I'm always like, I'm sorry. You know, that was my fault.
My someone who, if people are watching this and they have DM'd me and I've responded, I don't know. It's like sometimes people will DM me asking for their shipping information or something like that. And I say, I'm just the designer and run the Instagram. I'm sorry. I will connect you with a professional.
Yeah.
I don't have your shipping detail right now because it's 3 a.m. and I'm in bed. I shouldn't be on my Instagram anyway.
But it also just shows the level of comfort, right? That they have, like, they feel like they can, you know, like it's almost like they can reach out and like touch you and like ask you all these questions. And
Marla, do you have
all
my shipping details? And
yeah,
oh God, no one in their right mind would let me near the shipping. Tracking information.
Okay, and then one more question. So I'm actually not sure the name of the person who asked. So SB, we're asking your question. What are the effective ways to collaborate when you're a newcomer in startup? Would love to hear your thoughts. Effective ways to collaborate.
For a jewelry designer, I'm assuming.
I assume so, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that the whole point is you have to really work on your own point of view and communicate that. And it doesn't matter if you're only speaking to 20 people at first, you know, just stay on it, you know, and you might think, oh, nobody cares, there's only 20 people, but it's only if you can really hone in on who you are and, you know, what is authentic to you, will you start to see that snowball and build, because then people will understand, you know, what your line is about, what your vision is about.
I always say to approach the, you know, the beast of social media, not like a beast, to approach it like a story that you are telling. And it's very, if you think about it that way, it's just storytelling, and the caption is just as important as the photo. And in fact, the photo can be crummy if the caption is amazing. And oftentimes I prefer the caption to the photo. But
your captions are so funny, Marla. I mean,
they're extremely good. I love yours too. Funny. But it's like, it's about the content. It's like, don't even think about jewelry. Like, what do you want to say here? Like, what is this moment? What do you want to say? And you can, and try and enjoy it. You know, just try and enjoy it. Even don't approach it like something scary, like marketing. This is my marketing effort. Don't approach it like you're going to get something from it too. I mean, I've learned, you know, don't approach it like this is my marketing time. Don't, you know.
That's a good point.
This has been incredible. Thank you both very, very much. This is, you know, the last time when we sort of, you know, were like prepping or rehearsing for this call, or it was sort of our, you know, initial conversation, I thought to myself, I just want to hang out with these two women all day. I'm just going to I'm just going to like, I don't care where, or I just like want to be in your presence, because not only, as I, you know, had said in the introduction, not only are you just both such incredible businesswomen, but you are just such wonderful human beings, and everything that you talked about, and your teams and your process and your ethos. We're just, you know, so honored to have you part of the jewelry industry and the jewelry community. So
thank you
so very much. You know, if anybody, you know, if there's any other questions, always feel free to sort of send them in, and we can, you know, forward them on to Beth and Marla. But
you can DM us.
Yeah, DM us. Yeah, we'll answer.
Yes, just DM them. They will respond for sure. Thank you both so very much. This has been incredible. I know that this is an unusual fall, but I know that there's lots of exciting things happening for both of your brands in the next coming months, which I know we will see probably on social. We'll probably hear about it on social soon enough. And as far as New York City Jewelry Week goes, it is happening virtually November 16th to the 22nd. Also follow us on Instagram, JB. My business partner, she's the one that takes care of that. So if you DM us, she will be the one responding. She doesn't trust me with our Instagram. So if you have any questions for us, you know, please also let us know. And this is just the beginning of this Jewelry Confidants series. We will be continuing with, so stay tuned with an announcement about our next guests. We're really excited. And everyone who joined us today, have a wonderful afternoon. And thank you both so very much. It was great to see your faces.
Thank you, Bella. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Marla.
Thank you both. Thank you both. Mwah. Thank you both
Bye.
very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Tui.